watching the Bethel College Football Show.
Shire in at QB, throws the outlet. It's jumped by Trey Palmer. He's going to take it for a pick six. Touchdown, Bethel. He catches it in midfield. Braden Francis from 91 yards from Zach Esau.
Now here's your host, Dan Page, with football coach Terry Harrison.
Hello and welcome to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside head coach of the Bethel College Threshers, Terry Harrison. The Threshers are now 3-1 on the season, currently sitting in the third spot in the conference standings behind undefeated Kansas Wesleyan and Avila University. Southwestern sitting in fourth in the conference standings after the Threshers defeat Ottawa University 40-17, go up to Ottawa, make the trip, and play their first afternoon game of the year. And Coach, we had to bring out the sunscreen for this one, right?
Hey, we learned our lesson from Avila in 2019 or whatever it was, where Coach Kemp and I got roasted. So no, what a love afternoon kicks. Man, it was such a great trip. We had so many people there, families that came out and supported our kids. And, man, a great opportunity. We had so many kids play, which is always fun. And a lot of guys got a good experience. And always, obviously, it's fun to play well, right? And to bounce back from that tough loss. And so really proud of our kids, proud of our entire program. I thought, we controlled the game throughout, which was really fun. We had all kinds of good stuff happen, both offensive, defensively, and special teams. And so, man, one of those days that are just, really fun. Not like the last time we went to Ottawa, went on that blocked extra point. So a little different type of stress, I guess, not coming down the wire like it did a couple years ago. But no, great day. I'm excited to get back on the win column, setting ourselves for, a tough 3-game stretch here. So it was nice to, get some positive momentum leading into that stretch.
Obviously, you're going to be trading off road and home here the rest of the way. We're at home this week and then on the road the following, and then just kind of alternating to the final 2 road games of the season as you welcome Bethany to town this week. We'll get to the Swedes in a little bit here on the show, but the Threshers put up 34 points last week against Ottawa before the Braves could get a field goal on the board as Mario Quintero broke the ice, got his first collegiate touchdown. You had touchdowns from Chance Scurried. What a surprise there. Yeah. He's been your leading rusher this year. Mason Murray on the ground for you guys. Mason caught a touchdown again. I think he's almost your top receiver as far as receiving touchdowns right now. Logan adding a couple field goals there before Ottawa gets on the board. Yeah, no, great. And Braden punched one in too. So no, scoring was spread around. That's why, people that have watched us a long time understand that's how we operate, right? The love gets spread, right? And we share the load. And like you mentioned, really cool that Mario got to punch one in early in the first quarter, I think it was, on his first carry of the game. And so, that young man's journey to get here and just how tough he is and how great of a kid he is. It was so cool to see him score. I know our kids were pumped about it, and they were all really excited. So, man, all those guys did a great job. Had an injury early, and so young freshman quarterback got to come in and play, and so that was fun to watch him and rotate a lot of O-linemen in. So on the offensive side, like you talked about, I felt like outside of a couple turnovers late, man, we did a really good job of controlling the game. Which is kind of the style of football we want to play. And then obviously for us, it was important. We wanted to kind of challenge those guys through the air. And I thought, man, Coach Kelly and Coach Reed did a great job of that. And then, like you talked about defensively, those guys held them to, shut out for the first half. And then they gave up a field goal after a turnover in the third quarter. And, man, just did a great job of limiting that kid. We had talked about the running back being their strength, and I think that number 14 kid showed, that he's a really good player. And, he popped a couple on us, but nothing major, nothing that was, hurt us too bad. And outside some field position issues, I thought our defense did a great job
generating pressure on their quarterbacks, which we do, and those guys were definitely uncomfortable. And I felt like overall defense has played just really good football all year long. So as a head coach, man, that's pretty comforting to know that your defense can go out there and play the way they did. So, certainly proud of our guys, and offensive, defensively, and then obviously Logan, knocking out a couple field goals, and they were deep field goals, and so not gimmies by any means, perfect on PATs, and I just thought it was what a complete win, and a comfortable win, and fun, and just exciting, playing, like you talked about that afternoon kick at Ottawa, which is a tough place to play always, and so really proud of our kids, really proud of our program, and I thought it was just a great day for Thresher football, so excited for that.
The Threshers rack up 487 yards total offense, and that victory over Ottawa, and of course 16 rushing first downs, pretty good, 371 yards rushing, 116 through the air, and of course 2 touchdown passes from quarterback DJ Sears, freshman for you guys. He's stepping up in the role for Landon Barnes, who got a little banged up in the game. A lot of guys got banged up in this football game, Coach, and then, at that rate, you guys were up so, by a big deficit and everything that, you just kind of had to rotate some guys in. Yeah,
the very fortunate we didn't have any major injuries, but just a lot of, little injuries that, have kids a little bit hobbled, and so what's cool is when you have a game like that, you're able to start getting guys on and off the field and give some of your guys who've carried most of the load, give those guys breaks, and we were able to do that, so that was really cool. And then, it's one of those deals like we talk about all the time, when you're able to rotate kids, and you're able to get more kids in the game, and even these JV games we've talked about, you're stacking future wins up. And so it can be frustrating. I know in the fourth quarter, I think that was the most stressful part of the game was the fourth quarter for coaches because everything else was going pretty smooth. But when you look back and reflect as a coach, man, what great experience, for our kids and for the guys to get opportunities to play, and you just can't replicate. As good as we practice and as proud as we are of practice, you just can't replicate game reps. And so, man, just like we talk about, the best way to put it is simply that, right? Those opportunities and guys getting into play, it's stacking future wins up for this program, which is good for all of us. It's good for the young guys. It's good for our families. It's good for our fans. Good for Bethel College. Just stacking those future wins. So proud of that. It was really fun to watch, and we got to coach the full 4 quarters, which was really good.
Absolutely, and I think the biggest testimony to your kind of explanation right there is when you see a sophomore running back in Rio getting there on the first possession for you guys out of Haven, Kansas, which football in Haven, Kansas is not as big of a thing, but he gets in there and gets your score, and I think that's the proof is in the pudding. It just kind of backs up what you guys talk about. That you actually do get those guys that repetitions there early in the game. So.
Yeah, well, just to talk about that briefly, it's what we talk about in recruiting, and we tell these guys, hey, you're going to get to practice here. We want to be a program that's built on development. We don't just want to acquire a bunch of talent and that be our default how we win. While we certainly have talented kids, obviously we're really proud of them. We're a very good football team. It just speaks to the way we practice every day, and so it's why we're able to put 2s in, why we put freshmen in, or whatever you're at on the depth chart. It doesn't even matter the number on it. These guys practice every day, and so when we do get those guys in a game, there's no need to panic for anyone. And so whether it's an injury or whatever, it's not like we don't slide all of our all in the table on 1 or 2 players. We practice and develop everyone, and so I think that game was a great testament to that, like you mentioned. And it's quite honestly, how do you win a JV game 63-0? Well, because our kids get to practice. And I think it proves maybe some other programs, maybe that may not be the case. And so it's not a shot at other programs, certainly, but it does. Man, I'm so proud of the way we practice and the commitment we have to every single player on our roster to where they can come in the game due to an injury or whatever the scenario is, and they can perform and play within our schemes. And it's something certainly that that I might be the most proud of. And one of the things we like to say is we're not good play callers, but we're really good practicers. And so our kids are prepared for every situation. And I think, like you mentioned, that showed on Saturday.
Absolutely, the Threshers get 81 yards on the ground from Chance Scurry and a touchdown to his name. Landon Barnes rushes for 69, Mason Murray 68. And receiving, Braden Francis with the 1 catch for 45 yards and had a lot of yak on that as he got it in for a touchdown. And then Mason Murray 2 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown catch he was juggling it because it actually hit the defender. I had the angle on it in the end zone, and he had I don't know how he held on to it, because that was tough. But it was a great play, great game for him there at Ottawa. And then on the defensive side of the football, guys just doing what they normally do. I think, before the game, Josh Siebold, he was primed and ready to go, and he brought as Coach Kemp likes to say, the inner hate, out there. But nothing personal. But just that's how you play sometimes. And Philip Williams actually led you guys in tackles, so that was pretty good from the secondary.
Yeah, no, Philip, so proud of Philip, and we touched on Mario a little bit, and we all have stories on how we've gotten here, and Philip's journey here in our program has been nothing short of amazing. Seeing his transformation as a player and a person is just unbelievable, and so proud that he did a really good job Saturday. Like you talked about with Josh, man, these guys that have been the staples of our defense for so long, I like to tell people we tackle like we mean it, and our kids strike people like they mean it. And so we were able to see some of that, and those guys, man, it's just, it just can't be fun to play against them. It's fun to watch them, but it cannot be fun to be a quarterback for another team, no matter who you are, because, you might get a ball out every now and then, but we're going to get a shot on you, right? And that's some of our goals. And I think it's a testament to the scheme that Coach Kemp's coached and developed over time, which is very unique, and people can see that clearly. But man, it's not just that. It's right, the way our kids embrace it and the way they play. They play like they mean it. They tackle like they mean it. They've committed to pressure, and I think over the course of time you can kind of see quarterbacks. It's not a real fun defense to play again, and like you talked about, we get to see that, and Seabold's a great example of that for sure.
And what's interesting to see, defensive side of the football coach, is you just have consecutive, with a lot of new guys in the secondary, things like that. You find somebody that steps up, and the last couple games, even at the JV game, it was Garrett Slater, freshman from Heston. I mean, he had quite the hit on quarterback here against Ottawa, and just coming out, it seemingly coming out of nowhere to people that don't really know him.
Yeah, again, I think it's a testament to how we practice, and it's not. I'm not in any way trying to brag on anything that we figured out. Our kids get to practice, and so when an injury happens, and Garrett was able to get an opportunity, which, he was probably surprised he had the opportunity. Well, he wasn't, because he knew this week, right? But it wasn't necessarily, maybe in preseason that wasn't something we expected to happen. But because of the way we practiced and the way the reps he was able to get, he got an opportunity and thought he did a great job. Especially that was really his first true full game as a college player. He's gotten in a little bit, but man, he took advantage of it. Man, he's a great athlete. He runs track here in the spring, and so that's kind of how we got to know him. He was a track kid here in the spring. He's from Heston, and he played high school football. And he kind of asked for an opportunity, and it's one of those deals where, when a kid has a passion like that, and he has a heart for it, and he kind of had to forge his own path here, and then when you're able to see that come to fruition out there, man, that's a pretty rewarding experience, and I had a lot of fun. He got put up after the game, which was really cool, because our kids see that, and the other part is that it's a kid that our kids trust what we do. Our kids trust our coaching staff, and they trust our other players, and there's no feeling sorry for ourselves when we have an injury or whatever may happen, but man, they just go out there and they lay it on the line with whoever's out there and available at the moment. And I thought Garrett did a great job of that. So super proud of him. And honestly, it's just a testament to his will and his just being undeniable at practice. And honestly, his first season ever in college football.
Absolutely. The Threshers 3-1 on the season after a 40-17 victory at Ottawa University this past Saturday. And now the Threshers get the Fall Fest football game against Bethany. And the Threshers, if you're wondering on the season, football statistics, averaging about 402 yards on the ground per contest, nearly 60 through the air yards, and 36 points a game. And the defense doing it pretty good job as well, only giving up 60 yards rushing per contest and nearly 200 through the air and just 12 points per contest. So not bad at all for the Threshers here through 4 games. And, Coach, in a blink of an eye, we're going to be halfway through the season here in a couple weeks. And, it's just going by so quick.
I know, they do. So one of the deals we really complained about the spring and having 3 weeks between a game, but now these feel like they're going super fast, right? And so, it's awesome because you're always working and you're always getting ready for the next opponent. Makes it hard to really appreciate the wins, but it makes it really easy to get over the loss, right? Because you're focused on the next game. So that's been really cool. But, like you mentioned, all of our guys are playing well. Our coaches have worked
it's not to say we've never worked hard, but our coaches, just watching them work every day is it's always humbling for me, and it's motivating for me. Knowing what they're doing to give our guys an opportunity to be successful, really cool, and the work our kids put in. Testament to the families we have here at Bethel, and just like you mentioned, we're sitting at a really good spot. We position ourselves really well, and man, it's one of those deals that you get a little bit tired, and I know, as we all do, and driving to games is for parents, right? I know that's certainly tiring. It makes the weekends go fast, but it's just the best time of year, and we have the most special group of young men on the planet, in my opinion. And so being able to watch these guys compete every Saturday, I really do my best to try to enjoy every minute of it, because man, it's a long off season when they're not out there.
Absolutely. Well, the Threshers taking on the Bethany Swedes for the final evening game of the season, 6 o'clock kickoff from Thresher Stadium. You can watch it on the KCAC network. We're going to talk about Bethany and Bethel coming up next here on the Thresher Football Show.
Thresher fans, get ready for the 2021-2022 school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Threshbees Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, windscreens at Thresher Stadium, improvements at Weedle Field and Ward Tennis Center, and new wall mats inside Thresher Gym. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history in a booster club that has grown 500% in the past 5 years, over 4 levels of membership plus a parent level. Join the Bethel College Booster Club today to help student athletes live out life-changing experiences. For more information, go to bethelks.edu/booster-club today.
Welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head coach of the Bethel College Threshers, Terry Harrison. The Threshers 3-1 on the season as they welcome in the Bethany College Swedes to town. The Swedes, who have yet to win a game this year, Coach, they probably played the toughest schedule in the entire country as they come on and play the Fall Fest game, a really important game for you guys.
Yeah, no, they really have. I'm pretty sure we talked about it as a team. I definitely know we have an older group that I kind of meet with on Sundays just to kind of talk about the upcoming week, and they've played only ranked teams. So they played Kansas Wesleyan, they played Southwestern, they played Avila, who are all top 25 teams, and so I think as a coach, that's, so you look at 0-3 and it'd be easy to be like, oh, here we go, a team who hasn't won, but certainly those guys will be battle hardened. They played extremely tough opponents. We've only seen one of those teams, and man, these guys have had a rough opening stretch, and so I would guess what that has done for them, as far as they have been battle hardened. They played really good teams, and so they're not. It's not like they're going to be unfamiliar with the level of football that we play. So, man, they've gotten better every week, I feel like. At some little things, especially their offensive line, I felt like it's gotten a little bit better every week. They kind of had Kansas Wesleyan kind of erupted on them in some pass coverage stuff last week, but I don't think that's indicative of their talent on their team. They have good players, especially at receiver. Their running back's phenomenal. J.J. Allen, I believe his name is. He's been a guy in this conference for a couple years now. And defensively, they're a little undersized at the defensive line, but they have some linebackers and safeties who can really, really run. And so, it's like we talk about, football's a game of matchups, and so we're going to have to, make sure we're giving ourselves our best opportunity as far as matchup goes to have success, because, they've been in tough games and they've played really good teams. So I'm sure, they'll be ready to go, and, their coach is a good man. It's been fun to kind of get to know him a little bit as a coach, within the conference, and, he kind of took over last year in some, a kind of a chaotic time for them. But man, he's doing a really good job, and so I'm sure they've had a great week of practice. I'm sure they're excited to play us because it's an opportunity to beat a ranked team, and so, man, we have to have a good week. And I can tell you, to this point, we probably stacked our best 2 practices together we've had all year. So I think we'll be ready for ready for that test, and certainly know that they deserve every bit of credit for playing that rough first 3 games.
Absolutely, the Threshers, of course, last season went to Lindsborg and won, and it was a very physical game for you guys. Defense played very well. I think we had more defensive highlights in that game than we did offense, if my memory serves me correctly. But it was kind of fun to watch. A lot of guys on defense getting some good time in, good tackles and things like that. And that's good when you can walk away from a game like that. At that time, it was later in the season. Mm-hmm. But Bethany always, look at scheme-wise, they're a team that likes to throw it a little bit. Mm-hmm. A couple years ago here at home, it was a 7-7 ball game at halftime, and then of course, I mean, you know, things have kind of changed since then, and then you guys ended up with the victory there here at home in an evening game. But it's, like you said, you know, Bethany's not just going to come in here and lay down against a ranked football team. You kind of have to keep bringing it, you know, no matter what opponent you welcome in. So.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we've gotten everybody's best shot, and that's kind of what happens when you're a conference champion. That people look forward to playing you, and it's it's really fun to be in a conversation for a conference championship level program. It's fun to be in a conversation of being a top 20 team, top 15 team, top 10 team. But with that comes some realities, and it is people look forward to playing you. They always have their best week of practice getting ready for you, and I'm certain that Bethany's no different. And so you mentioned last year, I felt like it was our defense, probably statistically for sure, maybe the best defensive game in Bethel College history. I mean, it was out of control good, as far as sacks and tackles for loss, turnovers. I mean, it was one of those games that everything fell together perfectly, and so while our guys played really well, it was also just, man, it almost kind of snowballed, which was really fun to watch for us. And so, I think, is it crazy to expect we can do that again? Probably, because it was the statistically best game in Bethel history on defense. But I do know all of our guys come back for the most part. We're getting healthier, and I know the way our guys play that, it does pose problems for teams that want to throw the ball, as much as they do. And so hopefully we can generate some turnovers and we can kind of keep working on this idea of complementary football, which we talked about, last week. And I think we're getting better at that every week.
Yeah, if memory serves correctly, at halftime of last year's game, Coach, you had them for like negative 18 or 19 yards. Mm-hmm. Your defense did a great job containing them, and I think that got a lot of attention at that time. But it was a pretty easy victory for you guys, it felt like, from that perspective. But obviously, like you say, winning football games is always hard. So, I've heard you say that plenty of times over the last couple of years, to know not to take it for granted. And I think everybody else in the program thinks the same way as well. But the Thresher is sitting in the top 4 in the conference. Bethany kind of battling for, try to get out of the bottom part of the conference with Ottawa and friends there a little bit. You have Tabor, St. Mary, McPherson on top of them, as well as Sterling, and then you guys in Avila, Southwestern, and Kansas Wesleyan. So going to be interesting to see how things shake out. Of course, Coach, we got the result of the Avila Southwestern game, and Southwestern, came back and won that football game. And of course, that game's obviously looming for you guys, a road game of all things. But you focus in on Bethany this week, but obviously you see things as the season kind of it's like you're on top of the mountain. You just see the valleys and everything. It's like, we got to get over this and cross this bridge, and you see what the task at hand, and now it's just to go out and get it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think Bethany, looking at what I've seen, I think they will rise to a middle tier team in our conference. They just had a really rough stretch to start, and so we don't want to be the start of that for sure. So right. This week's big for us, but then definitely not only that, playing really well leading into what you talked about, going to play at Southwestern, who's legitimately a top 20 team. Whatever, they're 16, we're 15, and so we've been in such close games with them every year that we've played them. I mean, I don't think we've played a game that hasn't come down to the fourth quarter since we've started playing them. I mean, I think it's every year. And so, my anticipation is it'll be very similar, competitive, back and forth type of game, which is kind of, fun to be a part of, even though it is super stressful. And then Avila, obviously, so we go to Southwestern, then we have Avila at home. And so, this 3-game stretch, we try to break our season into these 3-game chunks. And so this 3-game chunk right now is, it's really tough. But it's kind of what we want to be a part of, right? And so when you want to be relevant nationally, these are the games you're going to be in. And so I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for this week, especially with the challenge that they kind of pose for us. And, we think some of the things they do is going to help us, get ready for these next couple of games as well. And so, what we talked to our kids about today is, knowing that, to have a future win, the only thing you do is get better at practice today, right? And so what can happen is you can look forward to games, and we try to always bring our kids back to, you get to play one game this week, and that's against Bethany. And those guys are so talented, and their coaches are, kind of finding their way through the conference. That, man, it's a unique weekend, especially with being Fall Fest, which is always a big deal here at Bethel. Man, what we want to do is we really want to focus on this week, give it our best shot for our parents and our family. Because like you talked about, winning is so hard, but definitely, man, what a fun 3-game stretch this will be, and we really have our work cut out for us, where we've got to play really well, and some of that's getting healthy for us, and some of that is just having great practice to give ourselves our best shot. So I know our kids, I know they'll rise to that challenge. So for me, it's comforting, but definitely know that there are things we have to address every day.
The Threshers up to number 15 after being number 18 the previous week in the NAIA polls, and definitely going to have to prove that ranking over the next stretch of football games. As Coach mentioned, you have Bethany at home, and then at Southwestern, home against Avila, and then another road game, and then home against Tabor, and then that's it for home games after the end of October. You go on the road for a couple weeks, and then you're kind of looking at potential postseason chances. But obviously, Coach, just getting a little away from the serious football side of things. Fall Festival this weekend, a lot of things that happen. You have the Hall of Fame banquet. And Saturday game day is all full of things. This year we have soccer at noon, and then you guys kick off in the evening. I know you guys don't get to enjoy that as much as some of the fans do, but honestly, it's just, I think, a really good weekend for everybody.
Yeah, when you're a small, tight-knit campus like we are, on weekends like this are really fun. You have a lot of things going on, and so that'd be cool. Been fun to pull for our soccer guys, and those guys are friends of ours, and we obviously wish the best for those guys and love to cheer for them when we can. But then what you mentioned about the Hall of Fame banquet, I would encourage you, if not this year, I go to the Hall of Fame banquet every year. And man, you want to talk about when you're a program like we are that wants to be built on gratitude and gratefulness. It's all every year. It's you get in this grind of a season, or grind if you want to use that, whatever, right? You get tired during a year. Yeah. You get tired in a season. We all have so much going on. Yeah. You get fatigued, and I can tell you, the very first year there were some football guys inducted, some kids that did both track and football, and to go there and hear their stories about how Bethel athletics, even basketball, whatever, not all football players, but how Bethel athletics changed their lives. Man, you want to talk about something that's truly humbling. It's motivating. It can make you more grateful, and it can help you really truly understand the impact that a program and a college athletics can have on people. And so I'd encourage you, if you're somebody watching this, and if not this year, it's pretty, they're going to have already seen this, because we will have done this on Friday, the Hall of Fame banquet on Friday. And I would challenge you to come to the Hall of Fame banquet the next year. My hope is, I think we've got some kids that maybe one day in that, and I'll be way older by then, and I'll be sitting I'll be sitting in the audience for those. But man, it truly is something that is special. I think Tony does a fantastic job, and he's really made that a big time event that's done at the Wild Prairie Event Center there in Newton, where we do the Thresher. Man, just a great event that like we talked about. I don't want to talk about it forever, but I would encourage anyone out there, if you want to be motivated, if you want to be truly humbled and be reminded of what sport is about. Those guys don't talk about wins and losses generally. They don't talk about any of that stuff. What they talk about is their relationship with their coaches, their relationships with their best friends that they made in the dorms, and how that's kind of, that's sustained over the course of their life. And it can truly put things into perspective, and it makes you appreciate the winning. It definitely makes the losses not hurt as bad that you've been a part of, and it does give you some perspective on what this truly is about. And I think, it's a good reminder for me every day that, man, this is about so much more than winning. We have a purpose so much higher than that. And so that's my last plug, I guess. If you haven't been to a Hall of Fame banquet, you should definitely consider that in the future. Absolutely. And you're on year in and year out. If you go to BethelThreshers.com, you can check out information on the Hall of Fame banquet and everything. But yeah, you kind of think about, with your players, it's like, 10 years down the road, however long, it's like, what are they going to remember from this experience? And it's just further a message. I know the way you are, Coach. You're so detailed, like all the small things. You reminding them, take advantage of these opportunities, because you're going to look back at this as some of the better years of your life. So. Yeah, no, exactly right. We tell them all the time, as frustrating as a loss can be, as exciting as a win can be, right? We go through this roller coaster of emotions, both as fans and parents and as coaches. Trust me, I go through the same emotions, and you go through the anger, the embarrassment, the pride, the joy. You go through all those things. But I can tell you, when I look back at my college experience in this same conference, I really don't remember any scores. I don't remember scores, vaguely remember like the records of our teams, but I do remember,
just the fun we had in the dorms. I remember the trips we took as friends. I remember the little things and pregame rituals and, like little things like that. And so, so often in athletics, and rightfully so, it is competitive, and we want to be we certainly want to be a program of excellence. You only look at the score, but I can tell you, it is not coach speak to when we try to talk to these kids. It is about so much more than that, and you really won't remember the score. You'll remember all these other things. That's why we take our kids. That's why we go to Colorado. That's why we're trying to make that a traditional year. That's why we do some of the things we do and all the fun stuff we do, because in the end, that's truly what you'll remember. And so excited about that. As far as Hall of Fame, excited about our program, and I think our kids are a special group. Our families have embraced that, but always good to remind yourself of those things for sure.
Absolutely, and just to put a cap on that, Coach, you saw it even after the last home game against Kansas Wesleyan, where you guys came up really short just by a touchdown. Just after the game, the people just flocked to you guys because they want to see how you respond to moments of adversity, not just when you win all the time. And I thought that was really, really interesting to kind of take in and observe as just someone looking on. I mean, while the other team is celebrating and everything, you guys are already focused on, getting past those things and prioritizing the things in life, because it's just football right now, and so they're bigger fish to fry out there. So
exactly right.
Well, that's going to do it for our show this week. Hey, we appreciate you watching every week. You can catch the game 6 o'clock from Thresher Stadium. If you can't make it, watch on the KCAC network. I'll be on the call for that one, and we'll try to get you the best stream possible for that one, and you just enjoy it all if you can. We understand if you can't make it to the game for safety cautions and COVID protocols, things like that, but we certainly appreciate everybody that supports Thresher Athletics, and specifically Thresher football in this case. So for Coach Harrison, I'm Dan Page. We'll talk to you next week, and roll on.